Thanks for coming. It's wonderful. We are here tonight because Danny Lemberger and Tammy Lemberger, his wife, are here visiting Los Angeles, and they're from the Dror Center in Haifa, Israel. They have 8 staff. It's really impressive. They were a mission in the church. They left the church, but the mission is still going, which I think is wonderful. Anyway, I just wanted to introduce Danny, and he's going to speak to you. Thank you very much for coming.
Wow, hi everybody. Hi. So I'm Danny Lemberger, my wife Tammy. Thank you, Tammy, for being my wife all these years. Wow, where do I start? Some of you know us, know me, we've met, we've spoken. Some see us here for the first time. So maybe just a few words of background, who we are, what we've done. Okay, we're from Haifa, Israel. Israel is a tiny country. Haifa is a city in the north. Tel Aviv is a center. We grew up in Haifa. We got married in Haifa in 1979. And we left on a big adventure to see the big world. And we arrived in San Francisco in April 1980. And earlier we heard of L. Ron Hubbard, Dianetics, Scientology, and when in San Francisco we said, hey, this is an opportunity to check it out, to see what this is all about. And we started on lines of the Cosmos Mission. Some of you guys are familiar with the Cosmos Mission. It was a great place in 1980, very lively, energetic, fun place. You did courses, TRs, the emphasis was on training, becoming an auditor. You got some auditing. We could get rid of our drug residues on the Purif there, which was just began then. And it was great fun. We went back to Israel, back to the States. In 1989, we moved to Clearwater, Florida, and we lived 2 years there. Tammy trained at Flag trained, interned, grad 5 auditor in CS. That was too much for me. I couldn't do it. I couldn't confront being an auditor in the CS. It's way above my abilities. So I settled for all the rest. I trained as a course supervisor, ethics specialist, admin, executive, so that when we go back to Israel, we can open an activity and Tammy does the work and I can represent her, be her agent, right? A big artist must have an agent. So I handle the admin. Tammy does the work. So we founded Dror Center in 1992. Dror in Hebrew means freedom. So Freedom Center. Initially it was a field group. It was expanding rapidly. In 2010 we became a mission. By then we had 6 staff, and I realized that it is not okay for me to be the owner of the mission and for the staff to be my employees as a legal structure. So we turned it into a partnership. So I know it's off policy or not per policy, but I saw that that was the right thing to do, like a law firm or CPAs or like a cooperative where all the people own the place, share it, and it belongs to everybody. And it's run sort of democratically because every month we have a meeting of all the partners and the major issues are on the table and voted. So 5 people, it's not very complicated, enough to have 3 in one opinion, but that's why we've been run. And it has raised KRC significantly because the place belongs to all the people working there. Okay? That was 2010. I think a few years earlier, around, I don't know exactly, 2007, I could see that our stats, we had grown steadily from 92 to maybe 2007, but our stats were leveling off, going into an emergency, and Ron says, and he's right, if it doesn't expand, it's going to contract. You're going to go downhill. But let me go back a couple of years. We went back to Israel in 92, both of us on Solonauts. Okay, OT7 Solonauts, going back home and soloing. Every year coming back to Flag on 6 months checks, they called them. Then they found a nicer word for it, refreshers. That's a better word. By 2005, they have had enough of us, because I could see for quite a few years prior to 2005 that something was rotten in the kingdom. Something was going very bad. Talking to people and viewing Flag, the Tel Aviv org, other orgs around the world where we traveled, we could see the orgs were not expanding. At events, there's always one guy, little guy, standing on stage, about my size. He's smaller than me, but standing alone on a huge big stage. I only have this little step here. And he's standing on stage for hours, 3 hours straight, talking. But where I knew facts, like when he was talking about Israel and giving data about Israel, I knew the guy was outright lying. Because I'm in Israel, I can see things. And then he always tells us how fantastic it's going in Polynesia or in the Faroe Islands, and you can't check it out. But when we do talk to people in New York or London or friends we have everywhere in the world, people tell us quietly that their org is empty and dwindling, and then more and more pressure on IS and regging, and then they came up with this fancy ideal org thing. By the year 2005, they've had enough of me. And they couldn't handle me anymore. And they just took us both off the level. Tammy actually came back, stayed on the level another 2 years until 2007 or 8. And then 2008, they put pressure on Tammy to do the sensible thing, which is to divorce me. It's the only sensible thing to do if she wants to attain OT7, OT8, immortality, total freedom. Was there anything else they promised you? I don't know why, but Tammy said no. But we did not leave Flag or the church then, because we had to take responsibility for the mission. So around that time we had 6 staff, about 50 to 60 people on lines. But like I said earlier, I could see this was not going anywhere. This was not expanding. And other missions and field groups all over the world were being crushed, and their public and staff ripped off and not allowed to flourish and prosper, not allowed to be active. I was questioning this, and every time I would ask a question, I would get sec checked, and the only handling they have is sec checking you. 2010 was the last time we were at Flag for services, and I routed myself to Qual to try to figure out what was going on. I won't belabor you with all the details, but I was talking about, this thing is not going the right way. This is grossly mismanaged, and this one little guy, I said, was a lunatic. I said worse things about him, but I don't want to quote myself. And I said very bad things about it. But those of you who follow Tony Ortega, he quoted me. So Tony Ortega had something about me not too long ago. I will tell you soon about it. For us, what made leaving the church facilitated greatly was January 2012, when Debbie Cook's email circulated.
Yeah.
And I had people who read it come to me and apologize and say, sorry, Danny, when you were talking like you were talking, we thought you were crazy. I didn't talk to many people, but there were a few people that I felt close to, and I could open up and tell them what I really thought. And some people came to me and said, look, we thought you were crazy, but now with the Debbie Cook letter, it makes sense, and yeah, you were right. Okay. But it was a catalyst. It made it possible for us to start talking about what's happening in the church, because now you have a reference, Debbie Cook. Okay, she's Captain FSO for so many years. You can ask people what they think about it. By June 2012, so 5-6 months later, we were out. In March 2012, I wrote one more letter to COB, very polite. I said, dear sir, I asked him questions. I said I'm willing to help because I've been running a mission for so many years and I have a lot of successful action, so I would like to help you. Can we please meet? Guess what? This is 5.5 years ago. I'm still waiting for an answer. But when you write to be a letter, and it's not all a laudatory and dear sir, you're fantastic, you never get a response, it gets interrupted and you get more sec checks. So I spent a few months in the Tel Aviv org in ethics. They tried to handle me. I promised them I was going to Flag to get this handled. So they said, okay. So we had an appointment set up at Flag to get all this thing handled. But on the way, we took a detour through IOB.
Where?
IOB, Ingleside on Bay, Texas. Marty Rathbun. And so we want to see Marty Rathbun, because if Miscavige is not willing to talk to me and answer my questions, then I go for his deputy of many years. Maybe he can answer some questions, because I just couldn't figure out what was going on and how bad it had deteriorated and how far off we were from Ron's policy, from the ideal scene, from clearing the planet. I mean, all we want to do is just clear a planet. Easy, simple. So we said, we'll go see Marty Rathbun on this. And he warned me. You know, I'll give him the credit. He did warn me in advance. Danny, our house is surrounded 24/7 with private investigators. The church has all these people around us, and they're shooting us all the time, filming what's going on. So when you come to see us, he said, maybe I'll meet you in a downtown hotel, Corpus Christi, so they don't see you. I said, no, I don't go for this. I don't hide. I have nothing to hide, and I'm not afraid. So we spent a week with them, with Marty and Monique. We had a great week with them. We had a good time. And of course, when we flew to Flag, like we had those appointments with the MAs at Flag, they blocked our way. They told us, you guys are declared. And that was the end of our story with the church. Now, when prior to this, we expected this might happen. So we spoke to people. We confided, of course, with our staff, with many of our public. And when we left on 28 June 2012, all of our staff left with us, and of about 50 to 60 public, I think 40 left with us, and 10, 15 stayed with the church because they had relatives or family, or they were intimidated or threatened. They stayed with the church. I guess Miscavige didn't take it lightly, the fact that we left and so many people left with us, and immediately we trained ourselves on delivering the OT levels. We found out it's easy, it's simple to do. Like many people here do it, right? Trey, Karen, Randy, it's easy to do. If you're a good auditor, you study up on the materials and you can deliver them, okay? I have no doubt that the tech works, achieves fantastic results. We see it daily at Dror Center because we have 4 full-time auditors auditing all day long, and I only see the people leaving session with a big smile on their face. People are very happy. I should mention that since leaving the church 5 years ago, we've expanded dramatically. We now have a lot of people coming from Europe to Dror Center. LA is too far. Nobody from LA yet. But you have fantastic people here, so you don't need to travel far. But we have a lot of people coming from Europe. Like I said, we deliver the full bridge, the OT levels. It goes fantastic. So we're now up to about 100 people on our lines. At least 30 of them from Europe. Mainly Russian-speaking people, because we have Russian-speaking auditors. But we do very well.
So we're really happy, and I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, hit 3 cheers for Danny and his mission.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks. Bye.